The year was 1868. The Civil War had just come to an end, and the first ever Memorial Day had just been celebrated, and a small canning company was just starting up in Chicago, Illinois. Libby, McNeil, and Libby was founded by brothers Arthur and Charles Libby, along with their brother-in-law, Archibald McNeil. Little did these men know that their family's meager $3,000 investment would eventually become one of the United States' most storied and trusted brands. The company that began as an unassuming family operation is now a gold standard in the canning industry and beyond. Let's take a closer look at the ups and downs that have shaped Libby's history for nearly 150 years. In 1875, when the company was just 7 years old, its three founders had already innovated several new practices within the canning and packing industry. They were the first to mechanically compress meat into cans, the first to invent a customer-friendly tapered tin can, and the first to employ the recently invented refrigerated train car that allowed fresh meat to be shipped hundreds of miles from their plant. In 1880, Libby's employed 1,500 Americans, and by the turn of the century, that number was already well over 2,000. The rapid growth was in line with the ever-quickening pace of city life at this time. As the country progressed, so did Libby's. It was around this time that Libby's corned beef gained world fame when it took home gold medals at several world expositions. It was so delicious and easy to use that Admiral Byrd even took some with him on his pioneering quest to the North Pole in 1905. Well loved by so many people, Libby's decided to expand its offerings to include sauerkraut and condiments. By the end of the decade, they were offering over 100 different types of canned products. Libby's whole range of canned fruit and vegetable products were packed at their multiple new locations, which included Sunnyvale, California, and the island of Oahu, Hawaii. By the beginning of World War I, over 3,000 canneries had popped up all over the country to feed the 50 million people that were migrating to the nation's cities. Despite the competition, Libby's maintained its reputation for quality and continued to lead the ever-expanding industry. During wartime, Libby's was selected to follow America's doughboys to Europe in their standard field ration kits. Packaged in an innovative pea can, every American soldier had a can of Libby's corned beef in their emergency ration kit. By the end of the war, Libby's plants had been built throughout the Midwest and Northwest, as well as in upstate New York, Delaware, California, Hawaii, and Alaska. Libby's stood out as the leading canner of quality foods worldwide. Throughout the 20s and 30s, Libby's continued to grow and expand their worldwide reputation by building factories in England, Holland, France, and Germany. In 1934, the company published the first of what would become many well-loved illustrated cookbooks entitled My Best Recipes by Mary Hale Martin. When World War came again in the 1940s, Libby's canned goods were there to feed our soldiers fighting overseas. And when World War II at last came to a close, Libby's was still there. The company contributed to the war relief effort for the millions of displaced refugees on the continent of Europe by providing millions of cases of canned meats, milk, fruits, and vegetables. In fact, Libby's contribution to the war relief effort was so vital that they were the first American business to receive Allied permits to travel to Europe. In May of 1945, Libby's reopened its plants in the recently liberated countries of Holland, France, and Germany, solidifying Libby's reputation for reliability and generosity. After the war, Americans fell in love with Libby's expanded product line of freshly frozen foods. Throughout the 50s and 60s, Libby's formed a new kind of bond with the American housewife through its commitment to print and radio advertising that reflected the wholesome values and lifestyle of the era. As Americans flocked to buy televisions for their homes, Libby's was by their side with popular TV ads featuring the now famous Libby's jingle.
When it says Libby's, Libby's, Libby's on the label, 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 nothing's better, better, better on your table, table, table.